How's it going, lads and lasses? This figure review's been a long time coming. This is FIGBIZ's The Guy figure, of course, Disturbed's mascot. This was announced early last year, that was early 2021. And it was supposed to come out that October, and here we are just a little bit over a year later. Obviously, things happen. The company that owns FIGBIZ, Incendium, is pretty small, at least compared to a lot of other collectible companies. So a lot of shutdowns and whatnot hit them harder than, say, Hasbro or any of the other bigger collectible companies. So unfortunately, these got delayed for a very long time. I was getting to the point where even I was getting impatient. But it's here now. I got it in front of me, and I'm gonna check it out. So let's get into it. So this figure's primarily based off of how the guy appeared in the Land of Confusion music video, you know, the animated one. You know, it has the same color scheme. It kind of translated well to the FIGBIZ style, where they're kind of going for a more retro, cartoon-like appearance. For articulation, the head's on a ball joint, and it actually, if it wasn't for the hood, it would have a pretty good range of motion. The hood is pretty stiff. It's just kind of stationary, but I kind of expected that. I'm going to do a full 360 there, and then it's a little stiff at the shoulder, but it can go about that high. Just a single jointed elbow. That's pretty standard for these, at least from what I can see. Hands are on kind of a disc joint, so you get rotation right there where the wrist goes into the arm, and then where the wrist goes into the hand as well. It's a little bit inhibited by the chain here, but there's also an advantage to that I'll get into when I get into accessories. There's no ab crunch, but it does have a hip swivel there, which can do a full 360. The legs are on a ball joint there. They can pop out if you force them, but they're easy enough to just pop back in. You got double jointed knees. And that's actually about it for articulation. So let's get into accessories. So we're not overloaded with accessories here, but the guy doesn't exactly need a shit ton of accessories. He comes with this chain whip. This is featured in the comic series that they made. And then he has this base here that has Disturbed's icon, their logo, but there isn't a peg for him to stand. It comes with this generic FIGBIZ stand that does have the peg on it, but I assumed that this was going to be the one that has the peg. I didn't even think it was going to have anything like this. You can set it on top, but I mean, it doesn't you know, fit snugly anywhere. It just kind of loosely sits on top of it. And he can stand well enough on his own. But it's just, that's just kind of weird to me that they made this base here and there's not a peg for him to stand on. Wanted to show something real quick with the whip before I move on. You can actually Ghost Rider it if you want to and wrap it around him, and if you tuck it, you know, well enough, it sits there and it doesn't really come loose. So just if you're curious about that, that is something you can do. The last bit of accessories we have here are the alternate gripping hands for the whip, and these hold it pretty well, but they're not 100% necessary, and I'll show you right now. Because of these chains hanging off the wrists there, you can kind of wrap it around like that, and he actually holds it pretty well just like that, and it works for both hands too. So that's something to take note of. I do like these hands a lot better than the alternate ones, so this is how I would display it anyways. Alright, so we've looked at the articulation, we've looked at the accessories. What do I think about the first officially licensed Disturbed figure? For my Too Long Don't Read, I'm pretty happy with it. I was expecting just a little bit more, but overall, especially with it being the only figure of the guy we have that's officially licensed, I like what we got. Wish we didn't have to wait so damn long for it to finally get to us, but the wait's over now, it's here. All that being said, I do have some things that I would have liked to see done better. The main issue that I had with it is with the feet. There's no articulation in the feet, and I wasn't expecting that. I thought that the feet were at least going to be hinged, hoping that they would be on a ball joint, but instead we get nothing. There isn't even rotation at the boot, which I feel like would have been, the easiest articulation to put in there. So it makes it difficult to do poses. It's kind of, in a way, it's the same issue I have with the Hia Predator figures. Their feet, they just swivel. They don't go side to side. So they're a little bit better than this, but not much. You run into a lot of the same issues. It just makes it difficult to get him quite in that pose that you really want him to get into. Next big issue is with the hands. For a figure of the guy, I feel like you need to have closed fists, so that way you can recreate the 10,000 Fists album cover. I'm going to grab something real quick. This is my custom figure of the guy that I did years and years ago. It was one of my first. It's not that great, but I've still kept it all this time. And I made sure that the hands I picked were closed fists because that's, the iconic pose, at least for this style with the ripped up clothing. It's not based off of, say, Indestructible or Asylum. This is closer, even though it's based off of Land of Confusion, that look, it most closely relates to the guy as he appears on the 10,000 Fists album cover. So I would have liked some closed fist alternate hands. And then the last thing is the face that they chose. I would have went for something a little bit more neutral if you're not going to have alternate heads. They kind of just went with this screaming look. I should say yelling look is more like it. Which it looks really cool. I like how they did the face, but it makes it difficult to put him in more relaxed poses. Like just standing like this and having him have his mouth wide open like that, it just looks kind of weird. So that's something that I would have fixed. Just close. You don't have to close the mouth all the way, but just because you have to have the teeth showing, but just a little bit more, and give him his iconic smile. That would have been the way to go. But despite those complaints, it's still a really cool figure. It looks cool. I like how the chains wrap around him. I'm happy that this chain accessory that it came with is really flexible, that you can, Ghost Rider wrap it around him. The articulation is still pretty good despite my complaints with the feet. It's still decent. There's definitely worse out there. I'm just glad that the wait's finally over. It feels like forever ago that they announced it, even though it was just last year, but I've been waiting anxiously for this because, like I said, the only thing I had up to this point was this crappy custom I made. Now I have something official, and I'm really happy about that because Disturbed is still my favorite band. They're the band that really got me into metal when 10,000 Fists came out. I heard that on the radio, and I just fell in love, and that sent me down the path to, now I'm kind of a power metal guy. And I would have never gotten here if it wasn't for Disturbed. So they always have a special place in my heart. And it feels like with a lot of other bands that I like, I have some really cool merch. And Disturbed never really had anything that was all that cool. It was just shirts and maybe a poster or two. But, for some other bands, like with the Misfits, I have the figures that NECA did of The Fiend. Hell, with Sabaton, I have an off-brand Lego set. Now finally with Disturbed, I have an officially licensed action figure. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'll have some links in the description below where you can pick one up. I don't think they're having an in-stock sale yet. You know, right now they're fulfilling pre-orders, but eventually you'll start seeing them in places like their main website and places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. I don't know if Amazon's going to hold it. It's a bit more of a specialty figure. But I'll make sure to have links in the description below so you can watch and get on it when he does get in stock. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time.